Welcome to a victorious episode. Keeping it orange and blue, Kevin. I'm Ryan Evan, joined as always, Urbana's finest, Kevin Ducey. What a night, what a performance, what a complete performance from Illinois tonight, Kev, over Ohio State.
Yeah, I was just looking up some stats here real quick. I freaking loved what Ty Rodgers brought to this game tonight. I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he was so active on the boards. Got 10 of them. I was looking to see if he had a turnover. He did. He just had one turnover. But I thought that Ty Rodgers was phenomenal tonight. I think what the team did in the first half, which was clunky until we kind of pulled away late without Terrence and without Coleman. But I think it allowed Terrence to kind of like find himself in the second half, which was really critical. I'll tell you this, though, man. This is the one thing that's frustrating about this, and I was speaking as a fan, is we went from a 2-hour root canal against Indiana on Saturday, which we gotta talk about that too. But we went from a 2-hour root canal on Saturday from a game perspective to this game. This game had a ton of great flow early, right? Ton of great flow early. I think there was one foul called in the first 8 minutes. As a matter of fact, we went to the under 16 timeout at 12-something in the game. And the guys actually were looking gassed. I think I remember Ty Rodgers even saying, hey, like, get me a blow here. But then the refs mucked up the second part of the first half. And Peacock sucks, dude. Zach Collinsworth, like, are you bored, bro?
Jack Collinsworth. He needs to stick with football.
Are you bored? Like, do you hate basketball, man? Like, I don't ever want to hear a fan complain about Gus Johnson. Gus Johnson at least enjoys the freaking game. Dick Vitale loves basketball. You might hate him or whatever. The dude, can we get somebody who's at least passionate about the damn game they're watching? Now, granted, Ohio State had 7 fans in the building tonight, so but hey, it was a great win. It was a much better performance than what we showed on Saturday against Indiana. Nice to see Indiana beat Iowa tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I was hoping they'd pull that out.
You almost always root for the home team in these situations in the Big Ten, and I hate Iowa more than I hate Indiana, surprisingly enough, for a guy who's 45 years old. So, yeah, and then like Jay Bagan said, 4th time off for 2 days in a row. So, hey, listen, they did what they had to do. They got contributions from a lot of different guys. There's still some concerns, and we can get into that, but they handled business tonight, which is exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah, so definitely coming off a very uninspiring, just unimpressive, just, you called it a root canal, but just a game that, the team last year wouldn't have won, but you would have loved to have seen them come out, with more just zest to win a game and show up for the Illini fans at home. And I can tell you this, if Khalil Ware had played Saturday, Illinois would have lost. So they got lucky that Khalil Ware did not play Saturday. And, at the end of the day, Indiana didn't even make 1 3-pointer. So a lot of things went Illinois' way Saturday. You had to grit it out, and they did. But the most important thing is you win. So what do you do?
I'll challenge on the Khalil Ware stuff because it's similar to Northwestern. I honestly don't think we beat Northwestern by 30 with Terrence Shannon because you've got almost a couple dozen games to scout Illinois, and I think that like Northwestern did not know how to scout Illinois going into that game after one game against FDU, which throws things off. So I'll stand by this.
You had 23 and 10 tonight. That's whatever.
I'm just telling you, like I don't necessarily like those comparisons because sometimes without a player can really throw your scout off, especially a guy like Khalil Ware, who's arguably their best player. I think it threw Northwestern's scout off, and we drudged them by 30. So,
and look, I respect your thoughts on all of this. That's why we do the show. I just know that Illinois has problems with big men because we don't double, and we just allow Coleman to get bullied down there. And you saw what Renew was able to do. And
right, but you can't put 2 guys down there because then that allows one guy to guard 2.
No, so I understand, but I know that he's really a good shot blocker as well. I just think that if anything, you win by 8, maybe they win by 2. I don't know, but it would have definitely, I think, been a lot closer. So good for them to beat Iowa tonight. But in terms of Ohio State, what do we need to see? We needed to see a team that wanted to come out and punch Ohio State, right in the mouth, and I think they did, and they even though it didn't necessarily look sexy in that first half. They were pulling away. You could just kind of feel it. And I tweeted tonight on X, and I'm going to still call it tweeting on X, that, Ohio State has even less depth than Illinois at times, where Illinois would play 7 men. Ohio State literally wants to play 6.
They played 6 guys in the first half. Yeah, 6 guys in the first half.
And if they have to play 7, they do, and it just really hurts them. They just don't have a much. And Illinois was getting Ohio State into foul trouble. You saw Bruce Thornton had to sit out for a nice chunk in the first half. And then Okparo and Zed Key had 3 fouls. And then Bruce Thornton got 3 fouls. And then Illinois was able to extend the lead to like 16 or 17 and really kept it between 10 and 16 the rest of the way. But I will say this. Ohio State has struggled a lot this year. But at home, they do play obviously a lot better. Nobody has dominated Ohio State there in Columbus.
No, they're not. They're 9-2, I think.
Yeah, and Illinois went in there and dominated them in Columbus. Wisconsin won a very close game in Columbus. It came down to the last possession, I believe. Maybe they won by 4, but Illinois went in there and dominated and did what they needed to do to remind people why Illinois is still in the hunt and will be in the hunt for a Big Ten title. But with that said, we not only saw the emergence of TSJ, which we're going to talk about that a lot here in a moment. That'll be our next subject that we delve into a little bit. But we saw that Illinois can have multiple guys, 3, 4 guys get double figures and really make it hard for other teams to hone in on Damask or, one night Damask, who, by the way, Damask, the most consistent player on the team. Day in, day out, he's your go-to now, which is fun. And I can tell you this, 10 games in, he's first team all Big Ten to me.
Yep.
Just he is. And I'm like, who would you kick off? Well, look at this and look at that. Well, I can tell you this, the man took pretty much all the pressure when Shannon got suspended and held that on his shoulders and did a damn good job. But
yeah, honestly, he's the 5th guy on the All Big Ten team to me right now. I think it's Zach Edey. I think it's Boo Booey. I think it's Jameer Young. And honestly, I think it's Braden Smith. And then I think it's Margaret Damask. So.
I would actually say this. I would put AJ Storr over Braden Smith. And then I'm going to personally, I can't put Braden Smith in over Damask. I just can't. He's been good, but Damask has a bigger burden and a bigger workload. And when Shannon was out, I would love to see what Braden Smith's numbers were if Zach Edey went out. So I would love to see that. And I can assure you it wouldn't be 20-12, 33-10, 26-10, 16-10. It wouldn't be that. So
I'm putting Braden Smith on over AJ Storr, so we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, and that's fine. But, man, Storr has been so dynamic and electric to me. It'd be rough to keep him off. But I think we both agree that Damask is first team all Big Ten. So, but Ty Rodgers tonight, how good was Ty Rodgers, Kev?
Just incredible. Just his energy, his defense, his defensive rebounding rebounding, period. And just his opportunities when he saw that he's got a littler guy on him and he got into the post. He was 5 of 6 from the floor. He had 13 points. He was 3 of 3 from the 13 points on 6 field goals, 10 rebounds, an assist, like 1 turnover. Like he just was really fantastic. And just added that the hustle plays, the putback dunk. Like, dude, he was incredible tonight, and that's the thing that this team has, and it also comes back to bite us a little bit. Is there's so much versatility from a player standpoint. Is when you got your starting 5, or even with Goody or Harmon in the game, you've got flexibility to switch at all 5 positions. Defensively, you've got guys who can do multiple things. Offensively, but we still don't really have a true quote unquote point guard that plays a lot of minutes, and we don't have a true quote unquote post, a 5-man, unless Dane's playing. And I'll give Dane credit, dude. That dude was pretty damn good tonight. He still has lapses on defense, and I know people want to see him get some more minutes. He just does things where he like drifts, and he should be in places where he's not. He got a bogus foul called on him, and then didn't get the same respect when Royal ran into his back and got a put back.
Sometimes Kev officiating, like I wonder what makes some of these guys blow the whistle. I'm thinking if they were us and they were watching it, Would they say, "Oh yeah, that's definitely a foul"?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was frustrated with that they gave Coleman a tech there because he's been demonstrative in the past. But you know what? It was. I know people said there was a cumulative. It was not. He hasn't got teched up all year. I don't think. Maybe one other time. But it was. I think it was cumulative. I think it was just like, dude, we're sick of you crying about calls. But I mean, both times Zed Key took a dive. I mean, it's like, come on.
Clearly fell over.
I,
You know,
I,
I love how
I
Steven
can't
Darno
stand
called him
that
out
guy.
though.
He did. I can't stand that guy.
He said he should win an Emmy and a Golden Globe, an Oscar, all that good stuff. He goes, this dude's definitely taking drama at OSU.
Fake tough guy, fake Zed.
And then he gets the up and under layup after 4 pump fakes and flexes like,
and then next time gets a rebound and he's literally throwing elbows at guys. Like you ain't. He's that fat dude you play at the park that goes 2 for 30 and tells you about the 2 that he makes, but when it comes time for it, he don't want that smoke. I play with dudes like that my whole life. Fuck off.
I want to say this though. We got to see some run tonight from the freshmen, not just DGL, but Amani Hansberry. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a moment, man. You got to see, hey, Amani with that nice drive to the hoop and the foul, and his 3 was on the line. It just hit the front of the rim.
And so one of the things, obviously, when he took that 3, you're hoping it goes in, but then you're like, man, it's like you're like 8th or 9th guy on the team. I want taking that 3 right there. But it doesn't rattle him. He came down, he played some good defense, he moved his feet, and then he got the ball in a situation, and he just didn't panic. He made a great play. He has a maturity about his game it's kind of contradictory to or anti-DGL. Like DGL comes into the game, that's my dude. He wants to make a freaking play so badly.
I'm like, come on, man. He's like, I'm trying to think of the dog. He's like a boxer, right?
He's coming at you. Like he's gonna come and he's gonna pick up a foul. He's gonna force a steal or a turnover. He's gonna throw up a shot.
He's gonna hit a 3. He's gonna drive to the hoop aggressively. He's gonna take it to the rack, and he's gonna be. He was like, what do you have? About 2 steals in that one possession.
Oh yeah, and then the BS foul.
What was the foul on that, Kev? I was just like,
bail out.
This is what I saw. This extension from
Happy, I think
Mahaffey, yeah. Okay, so you can keep doing this for 3 seconds, and I'm thinking, what do they want the guy who's 6 inches smaller to do?
Well, we got to give DGL, like they were on a 13-0 run. Indiana was on Saturday when he hit that 3. That was huge.
Yeah,
huge. The offense was.
Rogers had 10 rebounds, Barry. Just in case you were talking about him, yeah. I think you can slowly see now. Brad is. I think every game we'll probably see DGL for some. I think. It's not just to appease people, but it's also because I think he can come in for 2 and 3 minutes every game and just give you that energy when the team's kind of dull, He's going to come in and just fire them up and then he's going to work his ass off on defense and get those guys back in it. I think he's been really good at that. And I think it's nice for Hansberry to have Hansberry back for a couple reasons, Kevin. You can give Dane a blow in situations where it's like, hey, Hawkins has 4 fouls here, or Hawkins got 2 fouls with 10 minutes. So we're not going to stick with Danger for the final 10 minutes of a half. And he showed that, he can hand himself on the defensive. You remember the Missouri game, how impressive he was?
Yeah. He's a solid basketball player. It's a question. So now I think Brad has the ability to look at things in case Coleman gets in foul trouble, in case Coleman needs a rest. You've got an opportunity to say, okay, what does this team need right now? Do we need a stop? If we need a stop, it's probably we're leaning to Hansberry because Hansberry can play more in the traditional style that the starting 5 play with Coleman in there. If we need a bucket, I mean, I'm sorry, the most like points per minute guy on this team, like it's like TSJ, Marcus Damask, and then it's Dane Danger. I mean, the points per 40 minutes for Dane Danger are like 24 a game. So it's like that guy he has a way. He's coming in the game. He's getting a bucket. Like he just flat out is. So it gives some roster flexibility for Brad that is really going to be critical down the stretch. One of the things we looked at this season coming into it is we thought we were so incredibly deep. And we're counting Moretti. We were counting Sincere Harris. Obviously, we're counting Terrence Shannon. We were counting Hansberry. And those guys have all missed some time. And now we're starting to get back to it, and it's a good game. And it's another good game we got coming up this weekend against Nebraska. Nebraska is not a very good team on the road. They're really good at home.
Yep. They literally just while I don't want to say this to jinx it, Kev, they literally almost just show up and just kind of they're done by half on the road,
Yeah, they've got they got Rink Mast, who's a good big.
If he's not making threes, they're just kind of
it's a thing for him. He's not as athletic as any of the bigs that we had.
Guess what though? They got a chance to upset Wisconsin on Thursday night at home. So
yeah, at Pinnacle Bank, I like Nebraska's chances there, and I'll be rooting for them.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
Hey, SDR, St. Dominic's Rosary, what's up, man? Don't forget our guy Jace Butler, dude. He's going to be in that mix as a guard rotation. He's absolutely going to be in that mix.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think he's going to be the one that everybody's talking about Merez next year, and I think people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, this is Jace Butler, man. He's going to be good here in a couple of years," and they're going to end up halfway through the year being like, "I think he's pretty good now."
Is Juwan Gary back for Nebraska, by the way?
He's not officially back. Hoiberg says he's day to day, but I honestly don't think he'll play this week. They got two big games, and you don't want to ruin your year and say, "Hey, we rushed him back to get him back for Wisconsin." You remember he had a calf strain. Those things don't just heal in a couple of weeks.
No, but I do think he's coming back.
Yeah, I mean they might rush him back, but I don't think he's going to be the same guy. But yeah, for them it's big to get him back, and they will have him back here in the next week or so if they don't have him back Thursday. So, but with that said, Kevin, how important and how crucial can it be to have Terrence Shannon looking kind of like he did tonight? I mean, especially his shot, though. Terrence's shot, even when he was missing, those balls were rimming around, They were in and out. They weren't just clicking the iron. They weren't banking in off the backboard. They were on the money, and I think he might have he's got his touch, his feel finally back, and for us to say anything like we're getting closer to 2 weeks now that he's been back. So I think also it's been kind of rough having these 2 days in between games. And now finally they can have 3 or 4 days in between a game to prepare for Nebraska and get him even more court time, get him more acclimated back into it. But he looked really damn good tonight, Kev.
He did. He looked a little rusty in the first half, and then the takeover in the second half, and understanding finding the spots, and even finding a spot where he drove and he kicked to tie for a bucket and an and one, which was really nice. And I mean, that's what he did in that first game back with Rutgers. I mean, the first couple times down the floor, finding Coleman. So yeah, finding himself a little bit. It also, listen, I mean, there's a level of an aspect for Terrence Shannon Jr. from a mental standpoint that is really tough to equate here. I think that anybody who's ever spent time around him speaks reverentially about his character and who he is as a person. And now all of a sudden he's labeled as a bad guy. It's against who he worked really hard to be. And it's really difficult. I think it's really difficult for him to kind of play the villain. And I look at it like if you look at Kevin Durant when he first went to Golden State, he was not the same player he was in Oklahoma City. Now, granted, he got 2 other guys who can really score when he moved to Golden State, and he wasn't quite the scoring dominant guy he was. But I think that Kevin Durant struggled when he moved, becoming the villain, the heel, if you will, to use a wrestling term. And I think that Terrence has probably got to lean into that when we're on the road. It was really nice. There were 38 people at the game tonight in Ohio State. It was just a terrible.
All 38 of them were there. No, there was more than 38. I'd say there's probably between 5,000 and 8,000, but
and a 20,000 seat arena, it makes it feel
and the
really
student
empty.
Section was just kind of lull. And I think Chris Holtman sees the writing on the wall. And I can tell you this: I listened to the pregame, the day before the presser for the preview of Illinois.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, though, those Ohio State media grill his ass. I know that they're more accustomed to doing it because they do it for football on Ryan Day and they can get away with it. But I was thinking in my head, if our media talked to Brad Underwood like the media does there at Ohio State to Chris Holtman, I don't even know how he'd handle it, because I'm telling you, dude, these were the kind of questions that they were asking him. Yeah, so what happened to your guys' offense? Like you guys were really good against a good Santa Clara team and Alabama, and then now all of a sudden you guys can't hit the broadside of a bar, and you can't run a ball screen offense. What's going on here? You brought in guys like Jamison Battle, blah blah blah. So is that on you, or is there a missing link, Coach Holtman? Like what's going on? And then it's really just like sarcastic and like, just like running almost kind of like we're going to shit on you while you're down. And then, and then he's like, well, no, that's not all the way true, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll just jump in on him again. Like, well, actually, if you look at when's the last time you ran out of a gym the last 2 games, Chris? Can you answer that? Like, that's literally what they say to him. I was listening to the press conference.
Well, I really like John Gross as a person. I met him a couple times. I don't think we were that way with him. I mean, but I had kind of tuned out at the press conferences at that point in time. So it was, but you know what? I've got no love lost for Holtman for the way that he acted when Illinois let Gross go. And it was just, and same with Tom Izzo. I think they were just complete turds about it. So I will say, like, so one of the things you got to look at with like Nebraska coming up, Nebraska doesn't have a road win in the Big Ten. And they go from they lost by 22 at Maryland. They lost to Rutgers on the road. They lost by 18 at Iowa. They lost by 16 at Wisconsin. They have one road win all season of note, and that was a win. They lost by 11 to Minnesota on the road.
Yeah.
They did beat a pretty good Kansas State team on the road back in December, and
Arthur Kaluma was hurt, I believe, but yes, they did. But let's just be honest, it's not that back in December to me doesn't dictate like who this Nebraska team is on the road.
I agree. They are not the same team on the road. And, granted, we're playing, what is it? We're playing Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday at 5:30, the later game. Yeah.
Oh, at least we get an evening game because, man, we come out sleepy in those afternoon games. We certainly did. Certainly have the last 2 couple weekend games against Maryland and Indiana where we did not play our best.
You got to chase Tominaga off the 3. You got to make him make some floaters. And I can tell you this: you just don't make Rink Mass will probably give him 12 in the post, 14. He's got some weird dinky dunky up and under. He's like Rink Mast is a guy. If I went to the YMCA, I'd pick every time because it's like you're not stopping a 6'10" guy that's got like every pump fake in the book,
What's kind of funny, that Bradenbach guy, I didn't realize where he went. He actually went to Washington.
Yeah, he joined Paul McCahey in Washington.
Yeah. And they burned me the other night when I bet on him against Colorado. So
yeah, remember when he went on a 12-0 run against?
Yeah, it was just banging threes against us, and I'm like, this dude.
I remember I was like, we're gonna lose because this dude's like can't miss. I was like,
speaking about guys you pick last at the YMCA, not first. I mean, that was the guy. Like you look at him, you're like, what? He's like Rink Mast, and that dude from Rutgers had a baby, and I was like, oh my goodness.
That was a game. That was Io's last year with us, and Io went for like a triple-double and only won because of that. Like,
was that the game that Omar Payne was really big late?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a big dunk on a pick and roll. Yeah, but my point is that Io had to have a triple-double in like overtime to win the game, and like that dude was like scored like 22 points or something. I was just like, what the hell is going on?
Lazy Forrest Gump is right. Nebraska's guard size is going to be a problem for Illinois, and the way that we like to back down Damask and Rogers, and we saw
Hoiberg and Tominaga play together sometimes.
Yeah, we saw the way that we did it with TSJ. So I don't think that they're going to, and Jay Illini's chiming in there too. I don't see that the way that they're going to be able to control us there. So it was just really nice because tonight was a much better. Hey, listen, concerns going forward. After the defense is still really slipping right now. I think we're still top 10 offensively in KenPom, and we're in the back half of the 30s or mid 30s defensively. But this team is, and there's a part of me that I'm like, can you believe he made that shot? Like Xavier Johnson made a shot against us on Saturday. I was like, that ball touched the very top of the backboard, and I don't even know if he was looking at it. It was like some of those Xavier Simpson.
And Bach, M'Bakuo did the same crap. You remember the one where Goody was all over him and he just happened to fling it up there and it hit the backboard and clanged around and went in. And I'm thinking we can't even make lob layups sometimes, and we get teams who just make so much trash around the rim. I'm thinking, and what's funny is I always look at Brad Underwood, and he does the same thing we're doing. Like, he's literally puts his hands in his head like this. I'm just like, sometimes, man, it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the defense is not where Underwood wants it, but I can tell you that we rebound well enough when we're on that does make up for some of those defensive lapses.
Yeah, so, we dominated the glass again tonight, won the glass by 8. Like, this is what we do. And that was with another game of paging Quincy Guerriere. Like, I don't like
Quincy played a little better tonight, but I made my post and my tweet because I kind of had enough of just seeing him being a body running around out there. Like, yes, he got a lob for a dunk. Well, I would tell you, nobody was on him, so I sure as hell hope he could have finished that play.
Yeah, 22 minutes and 2 rebounds. Like, that's
something's going on with him there. He did play better today, but as Underwood mentioned, like, here's an example of kind of what's going on with him and why he's not playing as much as he did. 76-60. You guys remember? 1 second left on the shot clock. Hey, who do you think he was covering? He was covering Battle.
Oh, yeah, and they got that curl screen.
The dude's clearly going to set a pick and bounce off for a 3. Like, everybody knows that. But for some reason, Quincy, instead of staying on the outside of him, decided to pick him up on the inside, so where he could be blocked off for him to literally just scoot back and shoot a wide open 3. And I'm thinking, I see this happening. You can't tell me Quincy Guerriere they don't go over this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why Underwood literally ripped his ass and pulled him out of the game. He's just like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. Like earlier in the game, Shannon went under that screen on Thornton and fouled him, remember?
Yeah.
And he looks at Shannon and goes, you went under the screen. What are we doing?
Put the clamp on that dude, though. He had 7 points tonight.
Yeah. Shannon's defense was good tonight. But my point is sometimes these little mental errors can really eat you up in a close game. Thankfully, it was not.
Hey, Randy, I'll say this. It's a guy playing his 5th year of college basketball. I think it's just a blip. I think it's the wintertime blues. I don't know. I think it's just a blip on the radar. I think we'll get Quincy bounce back here.
He is. I will say this, and we can speak from. He is a father of a young child. How do we know what's going on at home, right?
Yeah. I think it's a blip in the radar. I've got every faith and confidence in that guy and I think that his return to being a really highly effective basketball player is really key for this team's long-term success. And then, Lazy Forrest Gump talked about, like, we're letting them get to the spots on the floor to take those shots. And I agree with you. You're right. It's not necessarily completely letting them get to it. It's when the help is coming and how the help is coming. Is it coming too late? Is it coming too early? Which is leaving some other guys open for dunks. Like Mahaffey had Mahaffey was 6 of 7 for the floor tonight. That guy averages 4 points a game. He had 13. I mean, he had 6 points on dunks. So
he was roughing up Goody in the post, and I can tell you, Goody battles his tail off down there, but he just doesn't have the girth and the lower leg strength, I think, to handle these guys backing him down. And that's nothing against him. Like,
I'll tell you, guys are starting to go at it too. So he's
a heck of an offensive rebounder, Goody. So this is not a knock on him. Not everybody's a good post interior defender. He's a wing. And so he gets put down there and they go one-on-one. Other teams try to booty ball Illinois, and sometimes it works for them. But yeah, Illinois, the screening issue, Jay Began says that Illinois' biggest weakness is screening.
I thought I started screaming. I couldn't. I was like, I don't know. Do they yell a lot at each other? I don't know. Recognize him at screaming. I got it.
Yeah, I think we watched Northwestern. Man, they kicked Illinois' tail in that department.
Yeah,
that's a big reason that they won that game.
A lot of movement screens too that weren't called, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Hey, my guy Barry, dude. Hey, you're taking road teams money line. Good for you, buddy. And they're hitting for you. I would have stayed away from Oklahoma with a 10-foot pole playing at Kansas State, and they pumped them. So
yeah, well, you know what? I think Goody's a hell of a hunter and a fisherman, but we'll see if Lazy Force comes. Maybe he needs to switch to catfish.
I'll tell you this about Goody, and I'm pulling up some numbers here. Like, it didn't really show on the board. Like, he got 3 rebounds in 18 minutes, which is a fairly good number. He he gets little bang in like tip aways that we end up getting the ball to somebody and we make a play, and it's he makes some really good plays in that regard, and there ain't no way in hell Luke Goody's transferring. Nope. Same time Goody's going to transfer. No way, dude. That dude bleeds orange and blue. He's part of this team. He's the guy we're putting up at the podium after the Indiana game. Like, he's a senior leader next year. He knows what his role is. He is so vital to this team. He's coming back for his senior year for sure. So
100%.
Yeah.
I
mean, everybody said Sincere was going to transfer, and I think that probably would have more merit than. But you look at the way that Sincere's acting. Sincere came to Brad and said, "Hey, you need to burn, like, I'll pull this red shirt and jump in." So no, I don't think that Luke Goody's leaving at all. I think that we put Luke Goody in some situations with the way that we constantly switch that kind of expose him a little bit on the defensive end. So we'll see if Nebraska is able to do that. Nebraska might be able to do it with some quickness, but they're not going to be able to do it with speed. So
here it is, slowly and surely, Illinois and Brad Underwood continue to win and just add to the winningest Big Ten team in the last 5 years.
Yep.
Here's the funny thing is, like, and I'm not afraid to say people's name. I won't say his name, but we have some chats that we're in, and we're going to be doing some other fun things and expanding this podcast.
Yeah,
really
super
soon.
Excited about that, guys. We got some cool stuff coming for you. So
we're going to be doing a lot of intermeshing and intertwining with other schools and a podcasting thing and network. I'm not going to say anybody's name or anything, but it's coming soon. So we're going to be branching out and a lot of fun things in store for this podcast. But
can I chime in real quick while Daryl Thomas asked this?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right, Daryl. So, like, my source here is, this is third hand, but supposedly Sincere came to Brad during some time when Terrence was suspended and said, "Hey, listen, if you need me, I'll jump back in and play this season if you need me." And Brad said, "No, man, let's stay the focus, stay the course with what you're working on." So.
We love you too, St. Dominic's Rosary, and we appreciate all you guys who follow us and subscribe.
I love all you guys, man.
You tell your friends and their friends, and we'll all be friends to follow the podcast. And this podcast is going like right here, man. So anyway, we're
T-bone steak, cheeks, eggs, and Welch is great. Let's go.
So we're in these chats, okay, and we love intertwining and intermingling and just having fun talking Illini. So. But there's people who still just rip on Underwood, and just he can't make an adjustment to save his life. And, why can't he just do this and do that? And, of course, they always know better than Brad. I don't think Brad Underwood's record – and what's hilarious is when you look at Brad Underwood's record, people love to dismiss what he did at Stephen F. Austin like it's easy. Like it's easy to go 52-3 in a conference.
59-1 if you count the conference tournament as 3 years there.
Yeah, okay. It's just absurd because you look around right now. Look what Will Wade's doing at McNeese. Okay,
right.
Think about if he has to do this for another 4 years, and then he'd be on Brad's wavelength there. And look how good James Madison has been this year in that conference, and they've already lost twice, 2 or 3 times.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're going to end up being 15-5 in that conference, 59-1 counting conference tournaments that he did.
Yep. And 17-1, 18. Come on, man.
What was it?
18-0, 17-1, 18-0, and then they won all 3 conference championships.
Yeah, so and then you come to a team where a coach just gets fired, Travis Ford at Oklahoma State. And yes, I get you had a NBA point guard who really didn't do anything in the NBA, but he was a good player. Could have
been at Illinois.
Yeah, he just disappeared though once he got to the big lights in the NBA. But yes, he had a really good college point guard. Still takes him to beats Kansas that year, takes him to the NCAA tournament. Has probably the most exciting game of that tournament against Michigan. I can tell you this, Randy.
90-89. That game was nuts. Yeah, I watched that game at Legends.
Yeah, it was a hell of a. It was in Indianapolis too at the Conseco Fieldhouse. But that was his last game there before, right? Like a day or two after Josh Whitman went and got him and snagged him. But and then he comes to Illinois where the culture was dead. Okay, it's just dead. and just goes and finds guys. And even though they lost the first couple years, you could see what he was building. Like the second year was Io's first year. And you could just tell, like, these guys are believing by the end of that second year. And to see, you just say that out loud. Illinois has won the most Big Ten games in the last 5 years. And think about how great Purdue has been. Just think about that. Think about how great Purdue has been the last 3 years. And still they have not won more than Illinois. So, that's what should slap you around a little bit and just be like, it's just Big Ten games. Yeah.
I will say this about Underwood. I do think Brad is probably a little slow to adjust in game. But, we watched coaches who didn't adjust their complete style at Illinois
for 5 years, yeah.
Other than Bill Self, really. Like, Bill Self's the best at adjusting to his personnel, in my opinion. But Bill Self also could recruit to a level that he didn't necessarily have to do it. You look at Illinois in their first couple of years under Underwood, we played that high-pressure defense where we were trying to get steals and runouts, and we did, and it was actually kind of fun to watch. But the reason for it was because we didn't have true rim protection, and we couldn't score offensively. Like, we didn't have guys who were really good in the half court, so we tried to find a way to manufacture some offense, and won some games maybe we shouldn't. Well, then you get Io, then you get Kofi, and it goes back to more of like a pack line. And then we weren't switching because you can't switch everything with Kofi. And that offense was really predicated in pick and roll with Kofi. And then we switch again. Like, he switched offenses and defenses so many times. Dude, we only forced 6 turnovers tonight. By the way, hey, how about this credit to this team? This team only turned the ball over 6 times tonight. This team has gotten much better at not turning the ball over early in the season. Some of those numbers were up in the 20s, and we thought it'd be a problem. This team's fixed that. That's adjustments, folks. Now, like I said, I know people are frustrated with Brad that he doesn't do necessarily in-game adjustments, but he did it. He actually ran a possession of zone against Northwestern, and we ran like 3 possessions of zone against Indiana, which was actually kind of nice. But we had Rafael Davis on this show last year. The only way that you're able to do that is you've got to put it into play during the week. In Illinois, like we said, we had a lot of back-to-back games, 2 days of rest before playing. There hasn't been a lot of time to implement something new in that regard. But I'll tell you, I think that zone looked pretty good when we ran it against Indiana. I would not be shocked to see us possibly run some more zone against Michigan State.
It did, to me, the big one, if you think about last year, okay, remember what Penn State did to us at home. And yes, we lost all 3 games.
We changed our defense after that. We changed our
defense against them both times. They switched it up. At the end of the day, the booty ball just beat us. Like, we had a really good chance in the Big Ten tournament. We had some terrible shots didn't go our way. Guys were missing bunnies. Like, it just wasn't meant to be. But Brad did adjust when he needed to because he knew what they did in Champaign was not going to work against them. He just knew you have to try to do something. Brad will adjust and make those. But the people who want to nitpick that it's not enough or it should be more, the most wins, here's my defense, the most Big Ten wins in the last 5 years.
Hey, SDR, you're right. Brad absolutely at Illinois needs to find himself to a second weekend. I was doing some math. I was looking at some matrix. I was looking at some teams right now, and I was looking at teams between the 3 and the 6 seed, and it's just blah.
Yeah, I think Illinois at a 4 or 5 matchup, I'd pick us pretty much.
I like Illinois. I like Illinois against I like Illinois against just about anybody in the country in a 1-game scenario on a neutral court. I thought Tennessee was one of the best teams in the country. They laid an egg tonight against South Carolina. I thought North Carolina had been playing really good. I
would not want Houston to fall to like a 2 seed or something, and Illinois is a 3. I mean, I'd be okay in the Sweet 16, I guess. But Houston is a team I'm like, I don't really want to play them.
Yeah, their athleticism and their defense, and Kelvin Sampson, as much as we hate to say, it's a really good coach. So
it's like, I think, what was the stat last night on 50-50 balls? It's like 70-30 actually. Like Houston gets 70% of those balls, which is
David French. I don't care about a 5-12 matchup, dude. We got grown ass men. We got 23, 24-year-old dudes on this roster. I don't worry, that have been through adversity now. That is legitimate. I don't worry about that in the tournament. I really don't. I don't.
Sonny, our good friend Sonny from Illini Cast makes a good point. I remember when he fell. I'm trying to remember what road game that was. He landed on his arm. It was at Michigan. He fell, and I think he re-aggravated his wrist. Because if you guys have noticed the last 3 or 4 games, Quincy Guerriere either misses both of his free throws or always one of two.
Yep, and he's reluctant to shoot the three, even though he banged one home tonight. Pretty nice. So
And he tries to rebound with one hand as well.
he did that earlier tonight too. Yeah,
Something is going on with him, and they're just like, hey, he's got length. He can still be effective to a degree. But I think this next 4 or 5 days, I hope, is good enough. That's a really good point for sure, Sonny.
Yeah, love to have him because he's a matchup nightmare for Nebraska. He's I mean, what's the big white kid they have? Not Mass, the transfer number 42. I think he could. That's the only guy on the team that's relatively.
I'm trying to think who you're talking about on Nebraska, the big white kid, not masked.
Alec, Josiah.
The one with like the long hair ponytail. You mean?
Yeah, he's 6'8", 230. That's the only guy that they've got.
Yeah,
that's in that realm. If Gary's not healthy,
yeah. If Gary plays, yeah, he's a little bit. I think is it Bryce Williams they have. He's nice. He's a good player. But yeah, they just don't really show up on the road. But you know what? I think they can make the tournament if they beat Wisconsin Thursday. I really think that there's a good path for them to win 21 games. You know, but
yeah, and it'd be nice. You want Nebraska to be a tournament resume team because I think we'll beat them at home.
Yeah.
And then Sean Garner, could Illinois make the Final Four this year? Absolutely. I absolutely believe
if Shannon plays like he did tonight, I agree.
Well, I think that I'd take the 1.5 years minus 6 games plus a couple. Like I'd take what we've seen for Terrence Shannon over 50 games out of the 2 or 3 that we saw.
We can't have Coleman letting his emotions get the best of him, though. You know.
Yeah.
Just can't do it. I know Brad wasn't a fan of that, but yeah. So Illinois 7-3. They play Nebraska Sunday. Then they get a whole week off,
and then they go to Michigan State, where we're going to get some real hate for Terrence Shannon Jr.
Oh yeah. So Illinois could be 8-3, 17-5, probably back in the top 10.
Yep.
And hey, bring it on. 8. What do you got to lose? Even if you do lose the game, you know you're 8-3 in the league.
Going to be a dog in that game. No.
It's gonna be a battle. So, real quick, anything else left you want to say about this hoops team after tonight's victory before we kind of go to a little bit of football with a couple?
Yeah, I think we need to talk about football. It's been a really good week for Illinois, so I think we need to definitely discuss that. So
yeah, so Illinois got a massive, gigantic commitment yesterday from Griffin Rousseau, who, by the way, if you follow me on the X, which I would suggest you do, because I kind of have a little bit of info with my football recruiting. That's kind of my thing. So I like to post little teasers. Last week, I put a crystal ball for Griffin Rousseau. I thought it could have been last week, but he did it. He decided to do it yesterday. And he had a beautiful junior day weekend visit. And
6'7", 305-pound lineman, a pure tackle out of Wisconsin. Good power forward offers. Yeah, great get for us.
Yeah, he actually had offers from Elko at Duke. Loved him. Then he went to Texas A&M, and they still were courting him there. Yeah. And then Syracuse offered him with the previous regime before
Babers left.
Babers got fired. Yep. So he had some decent offers, and I'm just telling you, man. I think Wisconsin let a good one get out of state, but Brad had his eye on him for a while. So this is a really good get. And then Carson Boyd, what's your take on the Carson Boyd commitment to Illinois? Do you think that it's the quarterback? Do you like having kind of a stacked QB room, or that just builds competition, or because Trey Petty's going to be there? He's kind of already been hailed the next guy from Luke, and now you got Carson Boyd coming in saying, well, I'm going to be here at 25,
Yeah, I love it, because I think that's what you should do Carson Boyd had 28 touchdowns and 1 interception this year on a state championship team. He hasn't lost a game in 2 years or lost 1 game in 2 years as a starting quarterback, and beat out a guy who's going to Western Illinois. Like, there's a senior on the team that's going to Western Illinois to play football as a quarterback, and he beat him out. Like, this kid, I watched his highlight video. I watched his commitment video. I'm in love with Carson Boyd. Like, this kid, 80% completion ratio, 28 touchdowns, 1 interception. And not only that, Dude can go. Like he's a little bit taller. Isaiah probably not. He's not as quick. But he's pretty damn
Oh yeah,
athletic.
he's definitely a legit 6 foot. He's not 5'9.5", 5'10".
But he is.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, and it's clear.
and Mizzou offered, right?
I'm not sure if they did, but I mean that they were coming from what I know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
because I know they've invited him to multiple games. He was at a game earlier in the year.
yeah, and it's one of those things like Illinois showed the love early, and we got him, and yeah, I'm really excited about this kid. I think he's seems like a phenomenal young man. I think Trey Petty's a phenomenal young man, and it's like, hey, dude, in the transfer portal world that we're living in, you got to have depth in that quarterback room more than ever. I think we got Altmaier for at least another year. I mean, hey, honestly, I hope we only get Altmaier for one more year. I hope
have a great year.
I hope Luke shines, dude, and we figure it out, and then we can look at Leary and Swanson and Trey Petty and whomever else, and but it's very clear there's a guy who's an odd man out in my opinion, and I'm not throwing shade, but like Barry Lunny is wanting to guys who are more in that. Was it Zachary Franklin? Was that the quarterback or was that the receiver? But the UTSA style quarterback,
Zachary Franklin was a receiver. He had Harris was the quarterback.
Yes, yeah. Is that's the kind of player that I think that works really well in Barry Lunny's system, and he's recruiting towards it. And Trey Putty's a stud, and like iron sharpens iron, man. We'll go figure it out. And if Carson Boyd comes and he pushes Trey Petty and Trey Petty's better and Carson Boyd transfers, so be it, dude. That's college football at this level.
And you know what? I know you didn't mention him, but I think Cal Swanson can still give it a run.
I mean, I love the kid personally. Like I met him, talked to his family, great people. Had him on the show. Cal Swanson's a legit 6'3", 6'4", and can run. Maybe he's a receiver.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
At the end of the day, if you can go play somewhere and you can thrive and be part of the team and contribute, I don't think it really matters how you do it. I think Isaiah Williams, by the way, salute to Casey Washington and Isaiah Williams kicking butt at the Shrine Bowl practices this week. I know they've really been impressing at the East-West Shrine Bowl practices.
Is Casey at the Shrine Bowl? I know he did the Hula Bowl thing.
Casey Washington got an invite to the Shrine Bowl because he impressed him there.
Awesome. Great stuff.
And then at the Senior Bowl, Keith Randolph had a good game today. Good day today.
Tip Ryman showing out a little bit.
Yeah. So I think Illinois might be getting more guys drafted than we might have originally thought. Apparently, Tip Ryman, people are wondering like where were his numbers at Illinois, and I'm like, well, I can say this.
Failed to get the ball.
Yeah, we tried getting in the ball a few times.
Hey,
I remember one bouncing off his helmet, but
wait a second. Illinois failed to throw the ball to an NFL level tight end. Man, like it sounds like the last 30 years of my life.
Yeah, Illinois failed to recruit Sam Laporta. What? Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
No, but Illinois is notorious for doing this. I mean, Manawa knew he had more catches in his first 3 years in the NFL than he did at Illinois.
Hey, Jay Beggin, in the final thoughts, I'll make sure I'll make sure that Kevin talks some freaking golf to get you guys your fix.
Yeah.
But really quickly, this is a true story, and I got to say it because it's too funny. So in the past, and by the way, I'm happy for Rod Smith. Him and Rich Rodriguez are doing well at Jacksonville State. He got him to a bowl game. You know? But anyway, so for everybody who follows me, who knows my thing is recruiting. And so for every staff, I usually hook on to someone that likes what I do, and they'll give me info. Well, so you people know Rod Smith was my guy on Lovie Smith's staff.
All right.
So I said, hey, dude, he gave me a couple commitments. He's like, here, blah, blah, blah. I reported it. And I said, hey, dude, you guys need to look at Sam Laporta. And he was just like, oh, really? He's like, where's the kid from? And I said, he's down in Highland, okay? I said, I've got two guys that grew up in Highland that told me, dude's going to be a star. You need to get Illinois on him before Iowa and all these other teams. I literally have the direct messages still. And he goes, oh, okay, man, thanks a lot. I'll pass that along. And I'm like, awesome, dude. We're going to – woo! 2 weeks later, Iowa offered. Illinois. Hello? Nothing. And guess what? You saw Sam Laporta in the NFC title game a couple days ago. You saw him pretty well at Iowa. Well, it is what it is. And, sometimes recruiting losses happen. It just bothers me when you don't even give it a chance.
He was the number one tied with Travis Kelce is the number one tight end in the NFL in fantasy points this year. So.
Yep. So, but anyway, those poor Lions. Yeah, I digress. So got to take the points. Shout out to Nick Allegretti, man. That dude just lives at the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Like Nick Allegretti just styling, and he's getting more playing time of late. Kev, did you notice that?
Yeah, well, the guy in front of him got hurt, and it was kind of interesting when that happened. I went and looked at Kansas City's depth chart, and the backup for like every position on the offensive line is Nick Allegretti. So Nick will most likely start in the Super Bowl. I don't think that guy will be back in time. So
apparently he's thought of very highly then if he's the backup in every spot.
Yeah, and SDR, we don't know why Brett let go Andy Boo. And I know Andy went over to Purdue. Everything I know about Andy Boo is a first-class dude. I think Illinois just took the opportunity to hire the new DB's coach / assistant head coach is failing me at the moment. But
and it looks like, and there's a lot of people in my ear saying, "Oh, Illinois is gonna lose a couple more coaches." There are a couple more jumping off. I'm thinking George McDonald is accepted the job at Ole Miss, so there's going to be another opening, and it is interesting. Will Thad Ward move from running back to wide receiver because he has been a successful wide receiver coach at multiple stops?
And I love the idea. We have it in our Liddyville chat. I love the idea of Dre Brown moving.
Oh my goodness! Heck yeah, yeah.
Anybody who's ever spoke with Dre Brown or seen he's a good dude's incredibly smart, and I love one of my all-time favorite Illini, so I hope maybe that's a possibility.
But to me, I love how things are trending. I start off the class of 2025 with a boom, a bang, whatever you want to call it. They're kicking butt, and they're taking names, they're cooking with grease, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, hey, listen, we got our third commit in this class. If you go back the last couple of years, the last time we got our third commit was like May. So we're well ahead of the curve here. So it's a pretty good situation to be in.
And you're getting to see how this is how the team Brett's wanting. These are his guys now.
Yeah.
They're gonna start coming in and
we're not plugging holes, we're building now.
That's right. So with that said, love what we got going on the football recruiting aspect. Illinois basketball recruiting is kicking ass. So with that said, it's getting late. Final thoughts, Kev. I'll leave the floor to you for your final thought.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on the hardwood here. Is that we got to see a little bit of this team and the cohesiveness that we saw earlier in the season. So everybody talked about early in the season what this team was and what they looked like was the word connected. Brad used that word over and over again. Analysts, guys smarter about the game than myself, use that same word. We use that same word on this show. We saw that connectivity not take a dive, but actually increase when we lost Terrence Shannon Jr. for the 6 games that we lost him for. And then when his return came back, frankly, it was a disjointed team. And it was disjointed not in the way that I think the team was last year. I think the last year's team was disjointed because, frankly, I don't think they liked each other very much. I think it was disjointed because we lost some role clarity and understanding of what guys are supposed to do and what their roles are. I think we got a little bit back to that tonight. It's a very good sign. Got to handle business for Nebraska. And then this team's going to get what it truly needs is a week of practice and preparation where we can work back to that level of connectivity, become a jointed team, not a disjointed team, with more role clarity and understanding who we are and what we need to do. And if you can go in and knock off Michigan State, you are back in the hunt for a Big Ten championship game going in the final week of the season with games against Iowa, Wisconsin, and Purdue, with being on the road at Wisconsin and at Iowa is going to be a very tough week. But very excited for where this team is going. Look like the team that I thought they could be tonight.
Yeah, 100%. So there's some revenge games there too. I think that at Maryland game is going to be a little bit different than it played out in Champaign. So they're going to be up for that game. I think that at Michigan State game and at Maryland, those are some swing games. I think Illinois has to at least win one of them. I agree with that. I think it's just great to see You know what? Here's my final thought. I'm proud and I'm happy that Dane Danger got to have his
Oh
moment.
yeah, and in the locker
He
room.
deserved it. And if you go on and watch the Illinois social media pages, they basically showered him with love and put him in the middle of the group, and they hugged on him and they danced with him and let him do his thing. And I think what you're seeing from Dane Danger, and we don't know what the future holds after the year is that you can sit there and you can pout when you don't get your time, or you could say, why me, and maybe play victim. Dane Danger, when he gets in the game, he always
never done that.
Yeah.
Never.
He's always been a great teammate. He always has a great attitude, and he always tries to contribute. And he usually does contribute when he's in the game. Even when he's got 2-3 minutes, he's either got to put back a dunk. He's leading the fast break. He's, hustling. He's doing things. He's diving for loose balls. Dane Danger is a great teammate. He's a perfect example of an everyday guy. And I'm happy that Dane got his moment today. And you could hear it, Brad, in the post-game presser saying how happy he was for Dane. So he's a loved guy. This is a connected team that cares about each other. And that's why Illinois is 7-3. And that's why they're a top 10-ish team. And that's why they're going to get a good seed in the NCAA tournament. And that's why this team has a chance to be Brad Underwood's first team to make the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. So let's keep enjoying the ride. We appreciate everybody on here. Big things in store for Keeping It Orange and Blue in the next couple months. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hey, leave a review if you want to. We like those. And if you haven't followed us or subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and do that. And we appreciate you. And we'll be back Sunday. So,
absolutely.
But that said, Illinois, after an Illinois-Nebraska 5:30 tip. Swap me out.